Yes, welcome back to Socially Speaking. I'm your host, Perry Red, doing what I love, loving what I do, and that's bring you news, fact, information, and the truth. Every week, I get to bring to you the other side of the tracks commentary, where we get to talk about the fact of the day and the position you should be taking on it. Our commentary also posts every week at theblackcommentator.com, and then thereafter at our WordPress blog at socialspeaks.wordpress.org. So, socialspeaks.wordpress.com, I think. Yeah, it's not ours. So, this week's commentary from the other side of the tracks takes a look at the new Supreme Court pick by your so-called President Donald Trump, Brett Kavanaugh. This is blue amnesia. Now, it was folks out in front of the Supreme Court building protesting, hell no, Kavanaugh. These shouts of protest erupted outside of the Supreme Court shortly after the primetime revelation by so-called President Trump that nominated Judge Brett Kavanaugh. He is 53 years old and served on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia, right here with Socially Speaking, is headquartered. Now, he's been appointed to the highest court in the land. And you ought to be worried. If you're listening to Socially Speaking, then you ought to know that Donald Trump, again, spit in the eye of the majority of Americans. Sort of like he did with Charlottesville and so many other things I would love to mention. Russia investigation. Make sure that you understand that this Supreme Court pick can only be stopped or stifled if you become active, if you believe that justice will always come down on the side of corporations and those with resources. Why do I say that? Well, first of all, I want you to know that these calls for Brett Kavanaugh, his nomination, to not go forward, to be stopped in its tracks, are vain cries. Because Democrats do what they normally do, and that's fold like a doggone card table. Let me tell you, it's little reason to expect that this passion will subside. I get that. In fact, Democrats, both on and off of Capitol Hill, they've been plotting a multi-pronged approach to what they believe would stop this nomination from going forward. Now, here's the problem. The Democrats, you might remember this fight that the Democrats are in. It wouldn't be a fight had they not wimped out a couple of justices ago. Yeah, they no longer have the option to torpedo the Kavanaugh nomination, not outright, thanks to the Republicans' controversial decision in 2017 to lower the long-standing 60-vote threshold for Supreme Court nominees to a simple majority. You see, because Democrats currently control only 49 states, they can't band together to block Trump's pick. And the thing about it is, when the nuclear option was in the hands of Democrats, they said, now we want to make sure that we're being fair to Republicans. Let me tell you something. Donald Trump and Republicans ain't thinking about being fair to you. That's the farthest thing from their mind. And you might remember with DACA, when Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said, you know what, if you just hold off on that and give us what we want on this, we'll come back and revisit DACA. And the Democrats said, okay. And have they? No. All Trump did was ask for more. More border security, money for a wall. And he's stripping the rights of those who might migrate to this country. You know what? Democrats seem to always get amnesia when it comes to the things that are so important to the majority of Americans. You see, there are more poor people than there are rich people. And Brett Kavanaugh, Judge Brett Kavanaugh, has a history, a vetted history, vetted by the Federalist Society. That should have been the first red flag. Vetted by the Federalist Society, has a long history of siding with corporations. You know, progressives, they mobilize when it's far too late. And this is the big problem. The establishment Democrats want to keep doing things the same way and expect a different result. They've been getting their heads handed to them since 1994, the Republican Revolution. And when the Democrats took back the House and the Senate in 2006, they said, we want to be fair to the Republicans. We don't want to run a fan on them. We don't want to run this down their throat. And then they lost the House. And then Barack Obama was elected in 2008. And it looked like the Democrats and progressives were on their way to a positive progressive solution for this country. It didn't happen. The Democrats got amnesia, but guess who didn't get amnesia? The elephants, the Republicans. They say elephants don't forget. And Republicans remembered that we have the steering wheel and we're going to drive this American car right off the cliff, like we said we would back in the days of William F. Buckley. So here we stand, about to have a 53-year-old put on the court that will effectively make decisions that take away a woman's right to choose, that will take away gay and lesbian rights, that will continue to erode the civil rights protections that so many black people and people of color in this country have enjoyed. This is problematic. When the Democrats chose to attack the progressives who run all over this country, including Alexandria, what's her name, Ocasio-Cortez. They even attacked her, and she won. And here's where the people come in. I don't care how much money they have. Only thing that can beat money is people. You have to get out and vote. You have to get on the phone and call your representative, call your senator, call your House of Representatives. I'd call my own senator, but I live in D.C. I was born in D.C. in America, and I don't have two senators. I don't even have one. Yes, I've been disenfranchised in this country. Why? Because white males made it that way in the Constitution, and like Brett Kavanaugh, they want to keep it that way in the Constitution. And every time Democrats have control of the House and Congress and the presidency, they get amnesia. You have to think to yourself, you cannot continue the same shade of blue and expect to get a sunny sky. It ain't working. The sky is falling. Donald Trump and the Republicans, conservative Republicans, are trying to run their agenda down your throat. They want to strip and tear up the Consumer Protection Board. They want to make sure that corporations have no accountability. Here's the problem. When you get your head knocked off, I'm hoping that there's no brain damage there, because blue amnesia is not good for anybody who's left, including your children. Ask those immigrants coming across the border. I'm Perry Red from the other side of the tracks.